as we go along. All right, well, welcome and thank you for joining today. Our presentation is going to be on making healthier snack choices and managing our sweet tooth. While snacking oftentimes we might be seen, while snacking might be oftentimes seen as an unhealthy habit, it doesn't have to be. We all snack, it happens, and that's totally fine. It doesn't have to be unhealthy. And the key to maintaining a balanced diet is not about completely avoiding snacks, but rather making them mindful and healthy choices. With the right strategies and mindset, we can help modify and create a strategy for our cravings, nourish our bodies, as well as enjoy indulgent treats in moderation. The goal for today is going to be providing you with a practical tip and information to help balance indulgence with nourishment. Starting off for why do we snack? So understanding the underlying reasons behind snacking is one of the key features to making healthy choices. Sometimes we snack out of habit or emotions, but it's not necessarily because we're physically hungry. And research does show that emotional eating can be triggered by stress, anxiety, or boredom, and can lead over time to unhealthy eating habits. Additionally, with busy lives, we often use snacking to make quick and easy options. So again, some of those big contributors to why we snack is part of emotional eating, which can be caused by stress, boredom, or just because it's become a habit and that's more prevalent within our lives. Our natural hunger cues. So we are naturally hungry throughout the day. So as our energy fluctuates between meals, that's going to be a cue for hunger as to why we need to eat. Alternatively, craving and confidence. So with cravings, we have specific desires often for sweeter or salty foods, and that kind of differs person by person. And then just as a convenience base, if we are on the go or traveling, don't have something packed, grab and go snacks are usually what people gravitate to, which makes total sense. And studies on the brain reward system do show that eating pleasurable foods, especially those sugary snacks, activates our brain's dopamine pathways, which makes us crave them even more. And it's a way that over time it can sometimes feel uncontrollable, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. For managing those snacking habits, one of the key strategies is going to be planning ahead. This is going to reduce our chance of reaching for unhealthy processed snacks when hunger strikes. So by preparing in advance, we can help ensure that we're making healthier choices. And then when we are snacking, we're going to want to focus on nutrient-dense options, like something that includes fiber, protein, and healthy fats. And these are going to help stabilize our blood sugar levels and prevent crashes, which lead to overeating. So planning ahead, pre-portioned snacks are going to be crucial in the mindfulness around snacking, as we will be tempted to eat. We might not always be, but if you are someone who can be tempted to eat mindlessly or just kind of snack as we're working, or if we do have a hunger craving and we kind of grab something, we kind of see ourselves snacking continuously. If we do pre-portion the snacks ahead of time, we will be talking about what those snacks might look like, but that can be a way where we will finish up our snack, and if nothing is in our reach, we can kind of go back to the task at hand. So snacking with a purpose. Try to choose snacks that will either fill you up or fuel you up. So again, those healthy proteins, fats, or fibers. And timing is going to be very key to our snacking. So to avoid mindless snacking right before our meals, if you're hungry between meals, try to space a snack between 2 to 3 hours apart. And then for mindful snacking, focus on the snack, not multitask if possible, because that's where we can sometimes lead into the mindless eating. But if we are intentionally snacking, this is going to help improve our digestion and the enjoyment of the meal. And the body's going to process fiber and protein a little bit more slowly than sugar, which means that these nutritious, more nutrients are going to help maintain our steady energy levels and keep us fuller longer, so a little bit more satiated. And additionally, with mindful eating, such as trying to avoid those distractions, it has been shown to help prevent overeating by allowing us to tune into our body's natural hunger signals, because they will be sent out. So trying to find when that kind of stopping point will be important. So listen to your body for making your healthy snack choices. Now, one thing I do want to point out in the chat here, which everyone should have access to, and if they don't, please let me know. I did include 3 documents. We're going to go over these a little bit more as the presentation continues, but those 3 documents are just some extra resources that can be helpful depending on where you're at within your snacking and sweets or within your mindfulness around eating and nutrition. First off, starting with that mindfulness. So there is a 3-day diet record is what it's called. Oftentimes journaling can be beneficial if we find ourselves overeating or mindful. If it's mindfulness eating, where we just kind of snack and continue snacking, sometimes it is beneficial to take a step back, look at what we're eating, how it makes us feel, and part of that process can be tracking just very loosely, looking into the foods we eat and then how they make us feel later on, or if they are making us feel satiated or what we gravitate towards too. We'll spend a little bit more time talking about that, but I wanted to give a brief overview of that 3-day food tracker. All right, so healthier snack choices. Those whole foods are going to be the cornerstone of our snacking habits. That's going to be the fresh fruits, the vegetables. They're going to provide us with essential vitamins and minerals. And then things like nuts and seeds are going to be an excellent source of healthy fats and protein. So trying to stick to those whole foods, the fresh fruit, vegetables, and nuts. If we're trying to get a little bit more protein and fiber in our diet, which can be an important thing to strive for, focusing on Greek yogurt, hummus, vegetables, or cottage cheese with fruit added on top can be a wonderful way to get a little bit more of that into our diets. Healthy fats, avocado on whole grain crackers, nut butter with apple slices is a few great examples of where we get our healthy fats from. Those are going to be more of our saturated fats, which help with our vitamin and mineral absorption and transportation around our body, and a very beneficial thing to have within our diet. Also with our snack choices, hydration can be a big part. Sometimes we might not actually be hungry, but we might be dehydrated or thirsty, and we think of that cue as more hunger, when in reality it might be a hydration cue. But for getting more water, trying to drink water, or you can use herbal teas as a way to curb unnecessary cravings if they do kind of pop up. And then lastly, for kind of making healthier snack choices, making our own snacks, trail mix, energy balls, smoothies, stuff that can be packed up or prepped ahead of time and taken with you on the go or left in a work bag can be beneficial to have something close at hand. And research here does suggest that eating a variety of nutrient-dense snacks throughout the day is going to help better support your metabolic health and weight management. And snacking on those high fiber foods can improve your gut health, as fiber is going to act as a beneficial gut bacteria promoting healthy microbiome. Also, on that hydration piece, it can often be overlooked when our snacking. So sometimes our hydration is mistaken for hunger, so drinking water or those herbal teas can help with our cravings if they do pop up, or pair well with them. As we have more fiber in our diet, we're going to need more water to stay hydrated, which it pairs very nicely. Satisfying our sweet tooth. So everyone has a sweet tooth from time to time. I know I personally do. And the good news is you can still enjoy sweets while keeping them on the healthier side. Thinking about that first option here, dark chocolate, for instance, is a rich in antioxidants, and is less sugar compared to milk chocolate. Dark chocolate is a higher so thinking about 70% or more of that chocolate, and it does offer less sugars with that rich taste. Fruit-based desserts are another great option, as they are a little bit more on that natural sweetness side, and they do still give us additional fiber, vitamins, and minerals. And if we are looking for, again, more of that sweetness, using sweeteners such as honey, maple syrup, or stevia for alternates to refined sugars can be helpful, and homemade baked goods. So if we are looking into modifying our baking itself, if we use almond flour, oats, or coconut flour as an alternative to regular flour. Back a little bit more to that dark chocolate. It contains flavonoids, which are the compounds that help reduce inflammation and improve our heart health, which is why you might have heard, and if you haven't, I'll tell you now, that it is at some point recommended to incorporate chocolate into our diet on more or less of a consistent basis because of those the factors that it can help reduce inflammation, improve our heart health within moderation. But otherwise, fruits, especially those high in fiber, like berries, are also help maintain healthy blood sugar and reduce our cravings to promote sleep satiation. Yep, and I just see something from the chat here. The monk fruit is natural as well, but is very sweet. That's excellent to know. Dates are another one. So if we are trying to go down the path of sweetness and we are really satisfied that sweet tooth, a lot of fruits are very sweet, especially sometimes when they're dried. All right, talking a little bit about mindful eating techniques. So this is where that journal is going to come in here. But mindful eating is not just about how we eat. It is about not about what you eat, but about how you eat. So if we are trying to focus on savoring our food, this can help improve our digestion, improve our satisfaction, and may help recognize when we are full. So taking those in consideration, trying to eat a little bit slower, whether when we are snacking or if we have more of our, our stereotypical, the bulk 3 big meals, the breakfast, lunch, and the dinner. Anything in between, focus on eating a little bit more slowly. Take the time to savor your snack and notice its flavors, textures, and smells. And also to check in with yourself. When we are eating, if you are eating due to stress or boredom, that can be an indicator to kind of stop when we're satiated and not stuffed. But also if we should be eating now, or if we are just wanting to kind of uh, have our hands be busy. So sometimes that what can be helpful is if we have some sort of fidget item around, because if we are just used to the motion of bringing something to our mouth, that can be helpful. Or also have a water bottle near us at all times, filled with water, so that we can, if we're still trying to put something into our mouth, that can be helpful. Smaller plates. When we're using a smaller plate or bowl, this can help control our portions and make it a little bit more mindful about how we are eating. And then try to focus on the quality over quantity. So savor and enjoy our snack rather than mindlessly eating. Now, talking a little bit more about those resources that I gave here. So feel free to pull up if you want. Otherwise, I'll just explain it. The 3-day diet tracker. So what I recommend with something like this, and when you are looking into snacking or nutrition, wherever you're at within that journey, it's important to focus on awareness, so that how does food make me feel is very, very important and impactful to our overall eating in general, whether it's snacking or those larger meals within our day. For the 3-day food tracker, I do recommend, for that awareness standpoint, if you are trying to look at your eating habits, so if you're fully virtual or hybrid, your schedule might be a little more consistent. But if you have lots of travel days, or if you're in the office some days, or everyone has their weekend, try to pick 3 days of your week that your schedule varies. Maybe that's an in-office day, an at-home day, and a weekend day, because our eating will typically vary on those days. And then from this, if we're still in that awareness mindset, try to then bring awareness to what do I typically gravitate towards for my snacks? When do I typically have those snacks? And that can be helpful for us to kind of broadly address or fine tune our eating habits. And you don't have to change them at all starting out, but that awareness is very beneficial to kind of creating a pattern of your eating habits. And then from there, how can you slowly modify things? If you learn that I'm usually running out the door pretty late, let's say at 7 o'clock. I run out the door, but I don't have time to prepare something. So I end up grabbing something from a gas station, or I grab something from the cafeteria, or maybe that's something that isn't really aligning with my healthier goals, or if I grab one of those sweet treats instead of an apple with cinnamon. Noting that over time will be helpful, so that we can kind of address those areas, look into, okay, well, I know that I'm always running out the door real late at 7. Maybe can I find something to prep beforehand or leave in the office or my bag that is a little bit more within kind of the mindful realm. And that studies also show that mindful eating can reduce overeating and emotional eating by being present and paying attention to how we feel as we eat. It's going to allow our body to signal when we've had enough, which often can be overlooked if we are distracted. So if we are just kind of mindfulness eating and we aren't being intentional about what we eat, that can happen where we just kind of overlook that signal that the body's telling us that we're full, and that's when we would be satiated, but instead we may overeat on our snacks because of that. All right, so finding a balance between indulgence and nourishment. Balance is going to be critical. It's not about being perfect. It's going to be about finding a sustainable approach to eating that works for you. One thing I want to talk about right here is going to be the 80-20 rule. It's going to be a practical way to approach this indulgence versus nourishment. It's going to allow yourself to indulge in snacks, but mostly focusing on endurance, nourishment choices most of the time. So 80% of the time, you're going to be focusing on those healthy choices, but still allow yourself 20% of the time to indulge in those snacks that, quote unquote, might not be healthy, which is totally fine. For our healthy lifestyle, it's going to incorporate a little bit of, it's going to incorporate some healthy choices, but also more of those indulgent, unhealthy snacks as well, because we can't expect ourselves to switch over, which kind of leads me right to the all or nothing mentality. So avoid those extremes. We have to balance our indulgent snacks with our nourishing ones. You can't expect yourself to go full cold turkey from all our happy foods. We need our mix of happy and healthy foods to have a sustainable diet that will take us long term. Portion control is also helpful. So I think I might have mentioned this before, but having a smaller plate is going to be a benefit and a favorite. So if you have a smaller plate of your favorite indulgent snack, rather than eating a larger portion, which also kind of leads back to section things out ahead of time. If you have, let's say, cookies or a bag of chips, and you are known for eating a majority of the bag or kind of stopping when we're feeling stuffed over just when we're satisfied, then have a smaller portion. If we say take that bag of chips or even bag of nuts and we've sectioned it out into smaller to-go bags, that can be beneficial. So we kind of already have our preset lunch. And also then if you do look into that 3-day food tracker, you might know, okay, how many, if a handful of nuts, does that satiate me? Or do I need 2 handfuls? Or I need nuts and a banana, or I want some cookies and some chips in my in-between, but I want to make sure that it's 1 cookie and 4 chips. So if we section things out ahead of time, we won't run into the unmindful eating instead. And then practice moderation. So it's okay to indulge, but in moderation. Small treats can definitely be a part of a healthy diet. And the concept of moderation is backed by science. So restricting ourselves completely from certain foods can lead to binge eating, and allowing occasional indulgences, you can help maintain a healthier relationship with your food, which can also reduce the feeling of depression and prevent emotional eating. So research also suggests that allowing small indulgences can reduce our cravings and improve long-term eating habits. All right, snack planning tips for busy lifestyles. For those with busy schedules, which I assume is most people here, or we have our busy times, we have our times where it might not be as busy, but planning is going to be everything. So preparing healthy snacks ahead of time is a huge game changer. Think about incorporating snacks that you can grab on the go, and you can portion out packs of nuts, fruits, or even homemade energy bars. So that's kind of our batch cooking. If we prepare snack-sized portions and healthy foods in advance, it will help us when we inevitably have to run on the go or are super busy. Part of that is going to be observing our schedule throughout the week. If we know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, those are very busy work days, and we're just full of meetings, and there's really no time to do any prep or preparing. All right, well then look at that Monday or Friday, or look at a weekend day if we're able to, or just pick, and part of this can be into a couple sections. One, if we pick a time, maybe on Friday, we put a note on our calendar. Okay, I have just 15 minutes before my workday, before my weekend starts. I'm going to use that 15 minutes to come up with a plan for what I want for my snacks this next week. If you want, you can take this into full kind of meal prep or preparing, where you look at your additional meals through the week. But otherwise, I know we're talking about snacks today. So with that in mind, what are the snacks I'm going to be incorporating into my schedule this next week? If we spend even 5 minutes thinking about that, it can help a little bit down the line. Or when we pair that with when we go grocery shopping, it can be helpful that we already have an idea of snacks that aligns with our goals, and still maybe incorporating some of those little indulgences as well. But so putting a note in our calendar can be helpful for that, making sure that we are aware. And the second part, if we adjust our grocery list or refer back to that 3-day food tracker, where you look at what do I usually eat? How can I slightly modify that as I move forward? this is where we can then get into more of that batch cooking. Where then if it's a maybe you end up waking earlier and it's between 6 to 7 a.m. on Tuesday, and that's kind of your prep time where you make or you pre-section out your granola bars or pre-section out your trail mix, or you cut up your fruit, put it in the fridge. So making sure that we can make little snack packs, whether those are protein bars, trail mixes, or pre-cut up fruit, but that can be helpful for snack planning for those busy lifestyles when we do need to grab and go. Choosing that snacks you enjoy. If you love snacks, try to focus over time on making healthier versions of what you already like. So I guess, yeah, think about your snacking habits. Think about what is one snack that I always gravitate towards, and then how can I slightly adjust that towards something that aligns a little bit closer to my healthy lifestyle goals. It doesn't have to be a full 180 in the healthy direction, but as you make slow steps, that's where progress will be made. And it's also going to be really important to stay flexible. It's okay to enjoy sweet treats when you're craving it, as long as it doesn't become a habit. So if you realize I really enjoy or have cravings for a sweet treat after my meal, maybe that's at dinner or after lunch, that's totally fine. Everything is fine within moderation. But if you are consistently then craving, okay, now after every meal or after every dinner, I'm now kind of craving that sweet treat. Now it's become a habit. How can we slowly modify our cravings so that we can veer a little bit closer towards our healthy lifestyle goals? And meal prepping and planning has been shown to improve our dietary habits by making it easier to stick to healthier choices and avoid impulse eating. Studies suggest that people who plan their meals and snacks tend to have better overall nutrition and are less likely to overeat. Here's a quick list. Feel free to take a picture of this for some quick snack options that will align a little bit more with a healthy lifestyle. Now, these are just some that I have tried in the past or enjoy, but there are lots of other options out there. These are some easy to make snack ideas that are both nourishing and satisfying. Usually, I try to focus more on protein and fiber, so something like Greek yogurt and a walnut combo. This is going to help reduce our blood sugar levels and keep you fuller longer. Again, if we have more fibrous or protein foods, they're going to help us get a little bit more satiated. And it's shown to increase, again, our fullness, stabilize our blood sugar levels, which can help reduce our cravings of unhealthy foods, and can also help prevent overeating later in the day, because that satiation is going to hold us for a little bit longer. So feel free to take a picture with this. Now, one thing I do want to mention for finding snack items that will work for you. One resource which many people don't always utilize is AI. So ChatGPT or another AI site can be really helpful for finding small recipes or quick snack ideas. Now, yes, and the reason I say this versus other articles, if you just look up quick snack ideas, there is a laundry list of websites and articles and recipes, which is great, but that also can be overwhelming. And you know yourself a lot better than a quick Google search for what it's going to give you. So that's why I recommend using AI. So if you go to ChatGPT or another AI site and you put in your snacking preferences, say snacking preferences, and you can put in your likes, your dislikes, what you currently snack on, how that can slightly be translated to a different option, and it can come up with a pretty scary accurate list of either snack options or modifications where you can slowly adjust or modify your current eating habits to align a little bit more with the goals you might want to put on yourself. Now, referring back to the PDFs I put in the chat here, which I've changed the access, so you should always be able to access them, at least for the next 30 days. So feel free to download them if you find them useful. There's a couple other resources that are in there. So one of them is going to be the Food Spectrum General, is what it's labeled as. Now, this one is just a very broad, but can be helpful for looking into the food spectrum on kind of a whole. Now, yes, we're focusing on snacking, but oftentimes, which I don't really have a bullet point about this, but I'll mention it here, the reason that we want to snack or need to snack is due to what we're eating around those larger meals within our day. So if we say, again, you're running out the door late, you don't have time for breakfast, but we have our lunch packed and we just kind of didn't eat breakfast, we're going to need some sort of a snack. We need some fuel to start our day and to get us to that 12 o'clock point where we can have our lunch. So when we are, or if you do modify your eating habits or schedule just a little bit, not only think about our snacks, but think about what those larger meals are encompassing. Because if maybe we have more, let's just say, carbs and fats for our lunch. Nothing's wrong with that. Totally fine. But that might not sustain us or satiate us for a longer amount of time. Versus if we try to incorporate more protein into our snacks or those main meals as more of a larger part of our meal, then that will hold us over to our next meal, or we might need just a smaller snack to get us from point A to point B. So using that food spectrum general PDF could be something to look into just if we are trying to address some of our eating habits, whether that's at those meals or in those snackings. For then the fruits and vegetables shopping list, I added that in there because that can sometimes be helpful for if we are trying to incorporate more fruits and vegetables into our diet. We want an all array of colors, as that's where we're going to get most of the vitamins and our minerals. Feel free to use this if it's helpful. If you're trying to incorporate more fruits and vegetables, but you really don't know where to start, again, feel free to either reach out to me if you want more resources or recipes. Otherwise, ChatGPT, you can kind of select or pick or even say, hey, I have these 4 vegetables or fruits in my pantry. How can I incorporate them into a meal? And it does a pretty good job of incorporating that into our meal. So one thing I did want to then talk about here, sorry, this is the next slide. Okay, so as we get closer to the end of the presentation, remember that healthy snacks is about balance. You want to try to make a plan, make mindful choices, and incorporate nutrient-dense snacks that support your health at the same time. It's also going to be important that you allow yourself the occasional indulgence. It's about finding the middle ground. So plan your snacks that include those whole foods, healthy fats, proteins, and fiber. We want to, if we do want to satisfy our sweet tooth, making sure we find alternatives like dark chocolate, fruit, monk fruit. Again, that was something that was mentioned here in the chat. It's a sweeter fruit that is very helpful, and it still has some fiber in it as well. Or homemade desserts, whether that's more of a fruit parfait or if we adjust the sugar content of different baked goods. But those can be ways that we can then section them out for later. And practicing mindful eating, we want to focus on the snack, listen to our hunger cues, controlling our portions, and make sure that we find a balance. So that 80-20 rule, we want to nourish our body most of the time, but we still need to include indulgences, because if we have very strict or rigid diet that is more with restrictions, studies have shown that we want to be a little bit more balanced. We want to be a little bit more flexible in our eating patterns, because that's going to be associated with better physical and mental health versus those rigid dieting or restrictive plans. Because it's hard to, again, everything is fine within moderation. So if we are solely eating those indulgence foods, well, we might need to modify a little bit more, but that's where over time we can gradually modify our eating habits. Now, I wanted to save a little bit more time here to talk about more of an open discussion, if that's something people want to join in on. But what snacks do you typically crave, and how do you manage those cravings? So if someone wants, feel free to put something in the chat or to come off mute, and we can discuss a little bit more of the strategies that we talked about and how we can fit that into your daily routine. I'll give a minute or so here to see if anyone puts something into the chat. Otherwise, I kind of have my closing thoughts. Great. I see. I crave granola bars, the kind with chocolate in them. That's an excellent thing to mention. For talking, well, more specifically about that, if you enjoy or crave granola bars with chocolate, then I would recommend, depending on the brand you're currently buying, and I'd be happy to do some research for you as well, but looking into seeing alternatives for chocolate granola bars, or if if not chocolate at all, chocolate chip granola bar. So if you look into then maybe instead of milk chocolate, is there a dark chocolate granola bar? Or can you make your own granola bar consisting of a sweetener with maple syrup? Or you can put, you have your oats, you can put dark chocolate flakes in them, and then maybe some other pumpkin seeds or walnut seeds, not walnut seeds, yeah, just walnuts in general. And that could be something that if you create your own granola mix, that might be a way to have the granola bar with chocolate get a little bit closer to the unprocessed, which again, it's totally fine to have processed foods, but usually we want to strive for incorporating foods that are a little bit less processed in our routine. So that's what I recommend is looking for, and again, using ChatGPT can be helpful for trying to incorporate chocolate and granola in the same recipe. I have a great granola recipe. I'll try to find that. I should have prepared that for this. And I'll try to send that out to the people who joined in here. I don't think it has chocolate in it, but that's where you can always modify and incorporate that in there. One thing I want to mention with granola or more trail mixes, you might look at them and they might look or appear that they have a higher calorie content, but oftentimes that's going to be from the fats that are in there. A lot of nuts are going to be the saturated fats, and there's 9 grams per calorie versus 4 grams per calorie of fats and carbs. So just know that if you are looking at something like, holy cow, that looks a little bit higher in calorie content, it might be because it has the healthy saturated fats. Again, if you look at your diet as a whole, that will still increase caloric intake depending on our other eating habits. But more importantly, those are healthy, clean fats, and that is 100% okay to include within our diet. All right, reading a couple of things here from the chat. All right, so one thing to mention here, kiwi is good food that helps with inflammation. Can I list more? Are you asking for more foods that help with inflammation or just listing more foods that we can incorporate into our diet? And how much water on a daily basis? Great question. So there's going to be the water intake is going to vary just a little bit on our activity level, mostly. But if we don't really know where we're currently at with water intake, you want to work your way up to 60 to 80 ounces of water. But then once we can comfortably have 60 to 80 ounces of water, work your way up to half your body weight in ounces, and then add 10 to 20 ounces on top of that for every hour of activity we have within our schedule. So if we weigh, say 200 pounds, try to work your way up to 100 ounces of water, and then say I go for a walk, 30 minutes, then I'm going to have an extra 5 to 10 ounces of water each day on top of that to make sure that I'm fully hydrated. All right, another great one. I eat breadless, I like to eat breadless bread, 1 egg, avocado, a cup of shredded Parmesan cheese, baked on parchment paper for 30 minutes. Yep, that sounds like that's a great snack. And incorporating that egg and avocado and Parmesan cheese is going to be great because that's a lot of protein content and unsaturated fats, which are healthy to incorporate within our schedule or our life in general. And that can be a great, now some of these foods, and I guess that's one thing I didn't mention, we can definitely, so if we prepare that egg, avocado, toast, or if we have more of an egg bite or egg cup, yes, you might think of that as more of breakfast food, but that also could be a snack food. If we're able to pack, think of it like a cold lunch or have a small cooler with an ice pack, that could be something we can add into our lunchbox that bring it to work, where then at least whether we're working at home or say you're in the office here, there's a lot of microwaves. So think about meal prepping, not only just kind of a granola bar, but like that option there, if we are looking into making more of that egg cup or egg or turkey, meat, lettuce, and tomatoes, some sort of sandwich, that can also be a snack, just a smaller part of our lunch. Maybe it's a half a sandwich or a quarter of a sandwich, but that can be something we can add into our lunch or snacks in between our lunches. All right. Now that is kind of a trade back with some of those I see. So avocados, yep, they're great for you, but you haven't found a way to taste that appeals to you. That can be a hard thing, is kind of getting over your taste. And that's why using something like an AI can be helpful for generating stuff that aligns with more of our eating habits. So say I love the benefits from avocado, but I really can't get behind the taste. Now, with avocado specifically, you can take that more, well, I guess if you like it plain, great. Some people like salt and pepper on it or turning into more of a guacamole. But if those still aren't something you can find yourself eating, then moving away from avocado as a whole is totally fine. And that's just something, if you don't like it, don't force yourself to eat something because, quote unquote, it's healthy. There's a lot of great alternatives out there that you can eat instead. So an avocado, it's a great, well, it might not be great taste to some people, but look at maybe nuts then instead. So if you are wanting those clean, unsaturated fats, you can get them from nuts or you get them from avocado. And it's really finding out what fits within your diet or fits within your what we enjoy eating, because that is a real important thing. All right, I'm going to look at the chat just a little bit here. Okay. All right, I see. Yes, clarification for that for inflammation. Great. So, yes, other foods that can help with inflammation are colorful fruits, vegetables can be helpful, fatty fishes, nuts and seeds. These are things that, well, ideally limiting the processed foods and help with sugars, but leafy greens, so like spinach, kale, or collard greens, they're rich in nutrients and antioxidants, which can combat inflammation, which those antioxidants are also going to be found in blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, and other berries as well are going to be packed with those antioxidants. I know tomatoes are beneficial for that. And then for within more of the vegetable realm, I believe broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, and cabbage are ones that have more antioxidants that help produce inflammation. Avocado, that's on that list. Sweet potatoes, and I think onions and garlic. So I know, sorry for kind of a large list, but those are some foods more so you'll find within the fruits and vegetables that are going to be helpful to find those antioxidants to combat some inflammation. Yes, so I can repost the documents in the chat, but I'm going to talk on the question for how often is it okay to snack? That's going to solely depend on your current, well, how you eat with your schedule. If you have smaller meals, you can snack up to, 6 to 10 times a day. That's totally fine. And that's where you observe your eating habits and you modify things to align with your goals. So if you have smaller breakfast, lunch, and dinners, they're pretty much, think about you're almost grazing then, and you can graze all day, which is totally fine. So it really matters about what your goal is and what and where you're trying to modify within your routine. Now, if you have larger meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and on top of that, you have 3 to 4 snacks in between every meal, maybe then again it goes to your goal, but is that leading to more gradual weight gain? Then that could be something to look into to modify. Also with our snacking, again, if it's less of the, so if it's hunger cues, if it's not emotional or bored snacking where we don't have any hunger cues, but I'm being cued, I'm hungry, then listen to your hunger cues. But with that, also, what did we eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner that day or the day before? What is our physical activity level? And if we observe those, I'm putting the documents in the chat, if we observe our eating habits as a whole, that can really then pinpoint where we might be lacking either on a nutrient basis or, again, if we're having not very satiated foods within our diet. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask. And even like snacking, we shouldn't be multitasking because we can't focus on 2 things at once. All right, I put the PDFs in the chat once again, so I hope everyone can access those. Feel free to download them. But yes, it's okay to snack as often as you want. Now it depends what that snacking is. So if it's a habitual, I'm in the habit of snacking, well then maybe we want to look into modifying that so that we only eat when we're hungry versus out of habit. if we eat smaller meals, we're going to need to graze or have more snacks throughout the day to sustain us. If we have larger meals, and then again, is the snacking more of that habitual? Is it because I'm bored, or is it truly because I'm hungry? Well, then let's look at those larger meals within our day and make sure that they are satiating us and filling us with the proper nutrition we need for our body and to sustain us over time. Okay, I think I covered everything from the chat. If there's anything else, please feel free to put it in there. Again, as a main takeaway, when we're looking at our eating in general, I guess I moved here. So in conclusion, looking at our snacking as a whole, it isn't about requiring perfection. It's going to be about making nourishing, it's about the importance of nourishing our body and trying to satisfy our cravings in a balanced, mindful way. So we want to make sure that we are allowing ourselves flexibility to enjoy the treats that we want in moderation, and we're prioritizing nourishing our body. And that's kind of that loose line, and it's different for everybody, of what our indulgence is to what our nutritious foods are. But if we overall try to strive for less processed, more protein and fibrous foods, that will help satiate us, and it will prioritize the nutrition, of our body. And then for those long-term balancings, if we want our eating habits to lead to sustained energy, which is going to be better for our overall health outcomes, and it's going to help promote a positive relationship with our food. So remember, small steps towards healthier habits can lead to significant, lasting changes. You don't have to expect yourself to completely switch your eating habits overnight. It's that awareness piece. So again, using the 3-day food tracker or a food journal, that is just one of many options if you just want to kind of write something down. But I do find that's a very, very helpful way to look at our eating habits and kind of find, what do we gravitate towards? A big one here. How does that food make me feel? Do I typically, I always crash around 2 or 3 p.m.? Okay, well then what do I eat for lunch? If I always snack on these 3 items, great. That can be fine. Again, it's okay to indulge on those happy foods over the healthy foods now and then, but how can I slowly work on modifying and change them into something that's more of a healthy food, yet that I still enjoy? So for example, someone mentioned they don't like avocado. Don't force yourself to eat avocado. There's a lot of other options out there. Try to work and find items. Give yourself some grace. Be flexible. And be mindful to stay balanced and to snack smarter. Okay, that covered everything I want. Is there any other questions, comments, or things people want a little bit more information on? This is kind of a broad outline for different food items and tips and tricks for our healthy snacking and implementing different sweets within our schedule. I will re-put up our snacking here up on the board. Is there anything else that people have questions on? I'd be happy to take that now. Otherwise, thank you for joining and have a wonderful rest of your day.